The movie kicks off with a former Special Forces soldier named Levon. He wakes up inside his car, which seems to double as his home. Stepping outside, he opens the gate to the construction site where he works as a foreman. It's immediately clear that Levon is well liked by the crew. One of the workers even brings him homemade food from his wife as a thank you. Levon thanks him, then rallies the team, encouraging them to finish the day's heavy workload. He promises them a bonus if they meet the deadline, then heads into the office, where he's greeted warmly by Carla and Joe, the owners of the company, and their daughter Jenny, who handles the accounting.
Through their conversation, it's obvious that they treat Levon like family. Jenny asks her dad for his credit card so she can go out with her friends that night. Levon chuckles as Joe hesitates, not wanting her to spend too much, but eventually gives in and hands her the card. Suddenly, Levon notices a suspicious car pulling into the site. A group of thugs gets out and assaults the same worker who brought Levon breakfast. Levon calmly tries to defuse the situation, asking them to leave, but one of them insults him and tells him to stay out of it. That's when Levon snaps. He grabs a handful of nails and launches into a brutal, professional-level takedown, quickly neutralizing the attackers. The worker, shaken but okay, is reassured by Levon, who checks on him before heading back to work.
Later, Jenny approaches Levon, clearly having seen the fight. She asks him if he was in the military, as his moves were too professional to be anything else. She shares that her grandfather was a soldier and used to train just like that. She even asks Levon to teach her a few self-defense moves, but he brushes it off, asking her not to mention the incident to her parents. She agrees and gives him more food, saying her grandmother made it especially for him because she knows Levon lives alone and has no one to cook for him. He accepts it gratefully and tells her to thank her grandma. After work, Levon goes to visit his daughter Mary, only to find that her grandfather Jordan is throwing a party on the same day Levon was supposed to pick her up. It's clear Jordan planned this to make Mary stay with him, but she runs out excitedly to greet her father and hops into his car. Jordan, bitter and condescending, tells Levon he doesn't feel safe letting Mary spend time with him. He accuses Levon of being reckless and says that his wife, Mary's mother, died because of his violent lifestyle. Jordan tries to provoke Levon into hitting him, hoping to use it against him in court to take full custody of Mary. But Levon holds his temper and calmly tells him her death wasn't his fault, then leaves with his daughter. They go out to lunch together, and Levon gives Mary a gift, a photo of her and her late mother. Mary expresses sadness and says she's upset with her mom for dying and leaving them. She also tells Levon that her grandfather removed all photos of her mother from the house. Levon looks heartbroken. Later, Levon visits his lawyer and explains how Jordan is trying to take custody of Mary. The lawyer warns that Jordan has a powerful legal team and that Levon's lack of a permanent home may hurt his case. He suggests trying to make peace with Jordan, but Levon gets angry and refuses, insisting he'll figure out the housing issue on his own. He hands the lawyer some cash and tells him to keep fighting. That night, Jenny heads out with her friends to a bar. At the bar, she walks over to the bartender, David, asking for a table. He flirts with her, saying if she tells him her name, he'll give her a special table. She gives her name, and he directs her to a spot. However, behind the scenes, David sends a message to a man named Viper, who works with a human trafficking gang. Viper arrives at the bar with his partner Artie. Meanwhile, one of Jenny's friends passes out from drinking and Jenny helps her to the restroom. She waits outside the door, but as soon as she steps away, Viper ambushes her, covers her mouth, and kidnaps her. The next day, Carla and Joe meet with Levon and tell him Jenny has been missing since the night before. Her friends say she vanished right after going to the restroom. Joe begs Levon to help them find her, knowing his military background, but Levon declines, explaining that he's not that man anymore and any involvement in violence could cost him custody of Mary. Joe offers him a large sum of money, but Levon still refuses and walks away. Levon heads deep into the forest to visit his old friend, Johnny. Through their conversation, we learn that Levon once saved Johnny's life during a military mission. Though Johnny lost his eyesight, he's still deeply grateful to Levon. Levon tells him about Jenny's disappearance and how much she means to him, like a daughter. He's torn. He wants to save her, but he's afraid of losing custody of his real daughter if things go wrong. Johnny encourages him. Go save that girl, no matter what it costs. Motivated, Levon returns to Joe, who's watching an old video of Jenny playing the piano. Joe reveals Jenny once received a full scholarship to study music, but she turned it down to help him with the family business. This hits Levon hard. He promises Joe, "I'll find her. I won't stop until I do." Levon jumps into action. He starts retracing Jenny's steps the night she disappeared and arrives at the bar. There, he spots David discreetly selling drugs to patrons. Levon immediately suspects his involvement. Out back, he finds the security camera cable cut. Nearby, he discovers a small bead, part of Jenny's necklace. It confirms his suspicion. She was taken from there, and she resisted. Later that night, after David closes the bar, Levin plants a tracker on his car and follows him home. He sneaks inside unnoticed, confronts David at gunpoint, and shows him Jenny's photo. David denies knowing anything. Levin isn't buying it. He drags David into the bathroom, shoves him into the tub, and begins waterboarding him. Panicked, David finally breaks. He admits Jenny was taken by a dangerous group and warns Levin not to pursue them. They'll kill his entire family. Levin doesn't flinch. He demands names. Just then, two men show up, friends of David's. Hearing their voices, David screams for help. The two burst in and open fire, killing David by mistake. Levin quickly guns them down, grabs their cash, and notices a tattoo. They're part of the Russian mafia. Levin stakes out the house until morning and sees two more men arrive with their boss, Volo. Levin follows them. Inside the house, Volo is furious to find his men dead and the money missing. He assumes it was a robbery. He orders his men Danny and Vanko to find the thief fast. As Volo leaves with his men, Levon follows them back to Volo's house. Later, he sees a cleaning van arrive. Two women exit and begin scrubbing the place clean, clearly erasing evidence. After they leave, Levon sneaks inside, spills hot coffee on Volo's face, knocks him out, and ties him up near the pool. When Volo wakes up, Levon confronts him, reveals he knows about the mafia, and demands answers. Volo threatens him, "You messed with the wrong people. You killed my men, stole from me. Now your whole family is going to die." Levon doesn't blink. Instead, he punches him, throws the stolen money in his face, and says he doesn't want it. He just wants Jenny back. Volo gets furious and mentions someone named Dimi. He begins ranting in Russian. Levon, confused, tells him he doesn't understand Russian and demands Jenny's location one last time. Volo refuses and mocks him. Levon cuts the rope and lets him drown in the pool. Outside, Levon pulls out his phone. He had recorded the entire conversation and uses a translation app to understand what Volo said. Now he knows that Dimi is behind Jenny's disappearance. Shortly after, the same cleanup crew arrives and removes Volo's body. Meanwhile, Volo's brother Simon arrives, devastated. We find out Danny and Vanko were Simon's sons. He's consumed by grief and vengeance. Back at the warehouse, Jenny is held captive. Artie, in disguise, brings her food and clothes and threatens her at gunpoint to obey. Elsewhere, Levon contacts an old army buddy who now works in narcotics. He gives Levon the name of Dimi's drug bar. That night, Levon goes to the bar. Artie watches him via security cameras and spots a concealed weapon. Suspicious, she tells her partner Chidi to check him out. Chidi approaches Levon, who offers him a fat stack of cash, pretending he wants to buy drugs. Chidi brings him to their boss, Dutch, and Artie warns Dutch that Levon might be a cop. Dutch confronts Levon about the gun. Levon explains he carries it for protection because he deals with large sums of money. Dutch tells him to empty his pockets. Levon refuses and turns to leave. Dutch orders his men to stop him. A brutal fight breaks out. Levon takes them all down with expert combat skills. He's about to kill one of them when Dutch yells for him to stop. Impressed, Dutch guesses Levon is ex-military. Levon plays along, claiming he's now in the drug business, needing new suppliers since his last connection got busted. Dutch tests him by quoting an inflated price. Levon immediately calls it out, saying prices in Chicago are much cheaper, convincing Dutch he's legit. Dutch sets a meeting for the next day at a cafe. When they meet again, Artie and Chidi give Levon a phone and tell him he'll get a call with the delivery location. Levon warns them not to double-cross him. Later, Dutch calls and tells Levon the drugs are hidden under the cafe chair he sat in. He explains the secret delivery was to ensure Levon wasn't being followed. After the call, Levon dumps the drugs into the river. That night, Viper and Artie delivered Jenny to her buyer, a twisted man named Garrett. When asked why he chose her, Garrett says he reminds him of a painting he loves. He pays them a suitcase full of gold and cash. Garrett opens the case holding Jenny, but she scratches his face badly. Enraged, he tells Viper and Artie to kill her and dispose of the body. Meanwhile, Levon sets up in a remote cabin, piecing together all the intel. Dutch calls again, telling him the time and place to meet the boss for a large shipment. Levon heads to a lavish restaurant, heavily guarded. Inside, Levon is searched before meeting the boss, Demi. Shocked, Levon realizes this is the same man responsible for Jenny's abduction. Demi asks for ID. Levon hands over a forged military ID so convincing that Demi's men confirm it is real. Satisfied, Demi gives Levon a suitcase of drugs and tells him he looks forward to doing more business. Later, Levon flushes the drugs down the toilet again. Back at his cabin, he reviews photos of Jenny and her friends at the bar and spots Viper staring intensely at him. He checks David's phone and finds messages between David and Viper confirming Viper kidnapped her. Levon drives to Dutch's bar and watches from his car. Artie, watching the cameras, spots him. Knowing Simon is hunting Levon, she calls him and gives his location. Simon's sons, Danny and Vanko, arrive. Levon jumps on a motorcycle and speeds off. They chase him, shooting, until Levon crashes into a police car. To his shock, the dirty cops hand him over to Danny and Vanko in exchange for a bribe. They tie him up and throw him in the back seat, telling him Volo was their uncle. Levon mocks their outfits. Enraged, they try to beat him. Levon breaks free, fights them both, and when Danny tries to shoot him, Levon redirects the gun and accidentally shoots the driver in the head. The car flips. Levon escapes, kills both brothers, and dumps the car in the river. Back at Mafia HQ, Simon is devastated by the death of his sons. He meets with the heads of the Russian Mafia, who assign him 2 elite hitmen, Nestor and Sefi, to take Levon down. Meanwhile, Demi is furious that Jenny injured Garrett. Viper promises they'll finish her off and find another girl to deliver. Demi is conflicted. Turns out he's Volo's son, and they were never close. But hearing that Levon killed his cousins shakes him. Nestor and Sefi dig up everything on Levon and head to Jordan's house, Levon's ex-father-in-law. Levon gets a call from Mary's school. Jordan didn't show up. He rushes to pick her up. On the drive, Mary says she's confused her grandpa didn't come. Levon feels something's wrong. When they arrive, the house is burning. He rushes in and rescues Jordan, who angrily blames Levon. But Mary speaks up, defending her dad. Jordan realizes his mistake and apologizes. Levon takes his daughter and drives her to Johnny's. He tells Johnny everything and says he's ready to end this. They gear up from Johnny's weapon stash. Levon says goodbye to Mary, asking Johnny to protect her. Meanwhile, Viper and Artie are taking Jenny to kill her. She fights back, kicks them, and crashes their car into a tree. She escapes but runs straight into dirty cops, who hand her back to her captors. Garrett calls again. He changed his mind. He wants Jenny returned. At the same time, Levon arrives at Demi's bar. Inside, Demi's arguing with a woman. Levon moves quickly, eliminates all of Demi's guards, and shoots Demi's hand when he tries to use a hostage. Levon shows him Jenny's photo. Demi says he doesn't know her, but knows the secret casino where the buyers go. He takes Levon there. Outside, Levon asks how he could sell women like objects. Demi says it's just business. Levon shoots him in the head. He enters the casino, loaded and ready. Meanwhile, Artie takes Garrett to Jenny's room. He wants revenge for the scratch on his face. Just as he approaches, boom, an explosion rocks the place. Levon has arrived. Panic erupts, people flee, Dutch and his men show up but are no match. Levon mows them down one by one. He confronts Dutch in a brutal hand-to-hand fight and kills him. Hearing Jenny's screams, Levon rushes to the room. He shoots Garrett dead, beats Viper to death, and Jenny chokes Artie to death with her legs. Just then, Nestor and Sefi arrive with dirty cops. Sefi opens fire and blows up the cop car. Inside, Levon frees Jenny and helps her out. When Nestor and Sefi attack, Levon snipes Sefi, then tosses a grenade, killing Nestor.
He and Jenny escape on a motorcycle. From a distance, Simon watches and calls the mafia boss. The boss tells him, "It's over. Forget the girl. Forget revenge. It's not worth the heat." Simon hangs up and screams in rage. The next day, Levon brings Jenny home. Her family embraces her with tears of joy. They thank Levon with all their hearts. He returns to his daughter, Johnny, and Johnny's wife. They sit down for a peaceful meal together, finally safe. The end.